Today, we're diving into a really specific and often incredibly destructive relationship dynamic. We're going to look at what happens when traits of narcissism and borderline personality collide. And to really get a handle on it, we'll follow the story of two people, Alex and Maya, to see how these patterns can lock someone in a really painful cycle.
Okay, so first, let's meet Alex and Maya. On one side, you have Alex. He's got these traits of NPD. He can be incredibly charismatic, the life of the party, but underneath it all, he needs constant admiration, he's controlling, and he really struggles with empathy. And then you have Maya, who shows traits of BPD. Her entire world is colored by this deep, gut-wrenching fear of being abandoned. She has this incredibly high emotional sensitivity and a really unstable sense of who she is, which leads to something called splitting, where her view of Alex can flip from him being the perfect savior to the absolute worst enemy in a blink of an eye.
So when these two get together, it creates what we're going to call the destructive dance. And look, this isn't just a tough relationship, it's a specific, toxic choreography where Alex's need for control and admiration hooks directly into Maya's deepest fears. It's like their core wounds aren't just coexisting, they're actively feeding off each other, making everything so much worse.
So what does this dance actually look like step by step? Let's get into the specifics of how Alex's behaviors systematically trigger and amplify Maya's BPD symptoms. A lot of times, it starts with something like this, a moment of devaluation, a bit of gaslighting. Maybe Maya is feeling a little insecure and just needs some reassurance. But instead of getting that, Alex hits her with a line like this. It's designed to do two things, completely dismiss her feelings and make her believe her very normal need for connection is some kind of fatal flaw. And here's where it gets so twisted. His words, they're not just mean. They are a precision-guided missile aimed right at her biggest fear, abandonment. He's essentially confirming her worst anxiety, that she's unlovable, that she's too much. And what does that do? It causes her to panic and cling even tighter, which, ironically, just gives him more proof to call her needy. It's a perfect, vicious circle.
Okay, the next step in this dance is the hot and cold treatment. This is all about control through instability. So when Maya is being what Alex considers perfect, easygoing, full of admiration, not asking for anything, he'll shower her with love and affection. But the second she expresses a difficult emotion or a need of her own, he goes cold. He withdraws completely.
Being on the receiving end of that emotional whiplash is incredibly destabilizing. For Maya, it triggers her tendency to split. She just can't hold a balanced, realistic view of him. When he's giving her that warmth, he is her savior, he's perfect. But when he pulls away and it goes cold, he becomes this cruel, heartless enemy. There's just no in-between, and you can't build a stable relationship on that. And then the dance can escalate to its cruelest step, weaponizing her vulnerability. See, in a moment of trust, maybe Maya told Alex about some deep childhood trauma. Later on, in a fight, he'll take that deeply personal information and he'll twist it into the most painful weapon imaginable. A line like this is designed to just absolutely shatter her.
So we have to be really clear here. This is so much more than just a low blow in an argument. It's a targeted strike on her core wound. It basically confirms her deepest, darkest belief about herself, that she is fundamentally broken and destined to be rejected. For Maya, hearing this doesn't feel like an insult. It feels like the horrible, devastating truth.
When you lay it all out like that, it sounds so hopeless. It really brings up the most important question of all, right? Is she just trapped in this forever? Or is there a way for someone like Maya to actually break the cycle and rewrite the steps to this dance? Well, the good news is there is absolutely a path forward. So now let's shift gears and focus on the real, actionable things Maya can do to start protecting herself, to disrupt this toxic dance, and to begin rebuilding her own sense of who she is. The very first move in rewriting the steps is finding a new voice. It starts with setting a boundary that is firm, clear, and totally non-negotiable. A statement like this isn't a suggestion, and it's not a request. It's a declaration. It's Maya saying, I refuse to participate in this chaos anymore. My emotional safety comes first. And that boundary is just one tool in a whole new toolkit. First up, reality checking. She starts a journal to write down what actually happens, word for word. This becomes her anchor against the gaslighting. Second, she practices setting those boundaries over and over. Third, and this is so important, she builds a support system outside of Alex. A therapist, a trusted friend, people who can validate her feelings when he won't. And finally, she learns to detach. Instead of panicking when he withdraws, she now has real techniques to calm herself down, which breaks that desperate cycle of needing his approval.
So after walking through this whole story with Alex and Maya, what's the big takeaway? What's the fundamental shift that changes everything? Well, it's all about moving from a state of constant reaction to a place of personal agency.
The core lesson here is pretty clear. Yes, one person's issues can absolutely pour gasoline on another person's fire, but the solution isn't trying to fix them. The real path to stability is something you build for yourself, both internally and externally. It's about getting validation from safe sources, setting hard boundaries, and actively checking the reality of the manipulation you're facing. Empowerment isn't something that just happens. It comes from making active, conscious choices for yourself, one small step at a time.
And you know, this whole entire dynamic really boils down to one single powerful question. And it's a question not just for Maya, but for every single one of us. Whose validation are you chasing? When it comes right down to it, whose opinion truly has the power to define your worth?